Welcome. What up, everyone? Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. This is season 2, episode 7 of the Unofficial Official Story. I'm Jennifer, and I am so excited we're doing this episode today because I'm a national park aficionado.
Hey, and I'm Dwayne. I'm not a national park aficionado, precisely because of stuff like this.
And I am Koji, and I am a outdoors enthusiast for sure.
This is a podcast where we tell you the official story. We look at the paranormal, conspiracies, unexplained phenomena, cryptids, and true crime. And by the end, we'll tell you what really maybe happened. In this episode, we're asking the question, why is Bigfoot kidnapping hikers? But first, let's introduce our guest, fellow podcast host, Adriann Barrett. Hey, Adriann, thanks for coming on.
Hey, guys.
Adriann was diagnosed late with ADHD. She's a true crime theorist, enjoys dark humor, and is a total nerd about anything Pokemon and Star Wars. She started her podcast, Crime Theories, because she noticed that most other crime podcasts were only talking about big cases and none were covering the small cases that no one talks about. And she believes everyone deserves to have their story told.
Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
I mean, like you said, we're based off of smaller cases, and then we also take theories of what could happen at the end of them. So, I mean, if that's, hey, the boyfriend murdered her, or a UFO has taken them, or whatever. Yeah, or if a demon has decided to possess them and take over their soul, who knows? We just come up with all these theories on the spot of what could have actually happened to these missing person cases that, not everyone's talking about. I mean, I feel like we go around and around on all these big cases like Gabby Petito and stuff, but these little ones, they don't get heard. I mean, I've recently we did 5 episodes on people that were around Gabby Petito that no one else has even talked about.
Wow.
What got you into true crime?
Well, what kind of got me into it is, I guess, being a anxiety-driven person that has like a fear of just people that, I mean, they say that you meet at least 9 serial killers in your lifetime.
Really?
Just by passing them on the street or whatever. So that kind of got me into it. And then the fear of just having this and fear for my family and everything. And then I actually have a assistant PI license.
Oh, wow.
And then so just kind of, that evolved into just helping out clients just with random boyfriends cheating on them and stuff. But then I was like, I want to do something a little bit bigger and deeper into solving these cases.
What's your favorite case in terms of true crime stuff?
I really like this one, and she's not really talked about a lot. It's Cammie Shepard. She's actually here locally, but she used to be sex trafficked herself, and then she came up with this whole awareness about sex trafficking, and then all of a sudden she goes missing, and then they find her months later in a storm drain.
Oh, no.
About 500 feet from her house. And cops are claiming that she went in there because she was cold.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm sorry, she is 120 pounds, and you want me to believe that this 90-pound storm drain, she lifted up and she went in there because she was cold when she was literally 500 feet from her apartment.
That's crazy. What I really like about your show is that you cover a lot of the, like you said, the smaller cases, and those cases tend to be the vulnerable people that nobody talks about.
Yeah.
They tend to be about people of color. The thing about Gabby was that a lot of there were women, there were like Native American women who've been, taken for years, hundreds and thousands of them, and no one's talking about them, or other people of color,
Exactly.
or again, vulnerable women, people that work, in the sex industry.
Yeah.
And children as well, right?
Well, yeah, children as well.
So my friend Patrice O'Neill, he has this joke about basically, I think it was Natalie Holloway who went missing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he talks about how in the joke, they search for white women more. And then the crowd is kind of like not with them. But everyone knows Natalie Holloway's name. And then he says, that guy also killed the girl in Peru. And he goes, what was her name? And then no one can say her name. So it's kind of like he proved his point. So it's great that you're doing that, because it's not like people in general care more or less about this one or that one. It's just that we hear about certain people a lot more than we hear about others.
Right.
When I was a kid, I got into true crime when I was a kid in first grade in my hometown of South Pasadena, California. There was a little girl that got kidnapped my age on the way to school. Her name was Phoebe Ho. And I remember it really fascinated me at the time. And the best story, this is a funny story about this, is that my mom, who's an immigrant, I remember no one was walking to school anymore because there was this child abduction, right? They're driving to school. The school is telling you to drive everyone to school. And I went to my mom and I said, you have to drive me to school. And she said, no one wants to kidnap you. And so I had to like walk to school. And I remember like, I went from being like, like hundreds of people walking to school with me to like 0 people walking to school. I remember every time a car would pass, I would like hide behind a bush or a tree because I was so scared. And my mom would like, and I begged my mom for like days to like take me to school. And she's like, absolutely not. Like she was totally not hearing me. My God. And I just remember being like, that fear was really real. And at that time, it was the Night Stalker was a big thing that was happening here.
Gotcha.
So it was all around that same time. So I just remember being like, this is super fascinating. And that really got me into kind of the true crime world.
So we're going to give you guys some facts. What is Missing 411? According to Wikipedia, Missing 411 is a series of books and films which documents cases of people who have gone missing in national parks and elsewhere and maintain that these cases are unusual and mysterious.
Who is behind Missing 411? It's this guy named David Petito. He's a 20-year police officer for the San Jose Police Department. In addition to his work on Missing 411, he has written books about Bigfoot.
How did David Petito get interested in this phenomenon? It all started with an alleged conversation with a ranger. This excerpt comes from David's book, Missing 411, Western United States and Canada, Unexplained Disappearances of North Americans That Have Never Been Solved.
That is a super long title, by the way.
I think in terms of SEO, I don't know. It's like no one's going to remember that whole title.
Right?
But at the same time, like that title, anything you search, that title might come up. So I don't know if you feel that.
Where should I eat for dinner? Oh, Missing 411. Sorry.
Right. Exactly. So he says, I sat in my room at the lodge and listened to the ranger tell me about a series of missing people inside our national parks. The ranger stated that the events were very unusual. Many people were never found. And the Park Service was doing everything possible to keep a lid on the publicity surrounding the missing. He explained that non-law enforcement employees weren't privy to all the information, but that the upper echelon law enforcement supervisors inside the Park Service were concerned about the numbers and certain facts surrounding specific cases.
Do you guys buy that he had this conversation?
All you need is one source that no one can prove, and then you're off to the races,
He's like, don't you think it's weird that there's so many people missing? And he's like, yeah, there are. But
the fact that we had Watergate, right? And they had, Deep Throat. Our history has these cases of anonymous sources where the information did pan out. So because of that, we kind of have to go, okay, maybe. You can't just write it off. Because that is a thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting for Adriann being a private eye. It seems like you can't just say something like this without, you can only hide your source for so long. Is that right?
No, not necessarily. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, some things are fully protected under the law. And so if they went ahead and signed an agreement saying, I'm giving this information, but it has to be sealed and no one can basically unseal it. Yeah, then it's really hard to get a case like that unsealed. So any statements and anything to become unsealed, it has to go through a whole court order and a judge and everything like that. And it's really hard to get something that is already sealed to be unsealed.
Interesting.
What are some of the facts surrounding these missing people? Because the National Park Service doesn't track on a federal level how many people go missing in the national parks, it is left up to researchers like Politis to determine the number. So we read online that it could be up to 1,600 people.
That's a lot of people. I mean, the thing about national parks, though, is that it's wilderness and people sometimes just get lost and sometimes people want to get lost, right? I did search and rescue around here. I was always amazed when you talk to some of these people who get lost and you're like, if the river was on your right side going up the mountain, where would the river be the way down? And they're just like, I never even thought about that. I'm like, oh my God, like, what are you doing out here? You shouldn't leave your car. You should stay in your car for the rest of your life. So what's so special about these cases? Don't people go missing all the time? So David Paulides went through many of the cases and found an easy explanation for why they went missing. Things like animal attacks, falling, getting lost, etc. After all, the wilderness is a dangerous place. However, there were quite a few cases where the answers weren't so easy. There are stories of people being there 1 second and then turning a corner and being gone, or tracking dogs who are unable to pick up a scent or unwilling to, or bodies suddenly being found where searchers have already gone over multiple times. Experienced hikers and hunters getting terribly lost. So the interesting thing about this is that he went through all these missing people and he said a lot of these are, you could find an explanation for. And then there's a bunch of them that kind of defied explanation.
Yeah, and I appreciate him going through it because, Adriann, you do unsolved crimes and stuff. Like whenever I listen to Dateline, I get enraged sometimes at what appears to be injustice one way or the other. But then it's like, what am I going to do? Am I going to research this thing? And am I going to research every case? So the people who say, you know what, I'm going to take care of this thing and I'm going to research it, I think you have to appreciate them, because you can double research it, but if you trust them and they've done the research already, that's a big help. No one person can do it all.
Although a lot of the true crime folks are kind of crazy. I mean, Adriann probably knows this. They start to bother people they suspect are the criminals.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And they start to go on their Facebook and Instagram and they just start saying crazy shit without even knowing all the facts or without even knowing anything. They just bother them. They bother the families and stuff.
Yeah. They totally go nuts. I'm working on this case right now. And it's kind of been in the making because it just happened last month. So I've just been kind of keeping track of it and kind of posting it as I am. And everyone's like, oh, wait, nope, that's got to be the husband. The husband did it. I'm like, what proof do you have? You have nothing, no proof that he did anything. It's just a weird case to begin with. But I personally don't think after doing everything, all the research and everything, I'm like, I don't think it's him. I do not think that he had anything to do with this at all. But everyone is all attacking him. And I also try to reach out to the family members and ask what their opinions are and what do they think happened. And just on not a you did it type of thing. I'm like, I want to know too who this person actually was. Not what the media is just saying they are. Because to the media, a lot of times they're just a body that just happened, that they found.
Or it's that, every time you watch Dateline or any of those shows, it's always like, this guy was the greatest guy. He was a great father. Right. He was really wonderful. And he coached football or something. It's always I was like, but not every guy who gets murdered or every woman that gets murdered is an awesome person. I mean, they could have had awesome things going on, but they could have been assholes. And they still doesn't mean they should get murdered. Right. But it's always interesting because all those stories, they have to paint them in a nice way or else they're like, well, I don't care that they got murdered. Right.
Right.
I think that's why the people like Gabby, she looked innocent. She looked like, somebody that we knew. Right. And that's why people gravitate to her. I mean, also being a Caucasian woman helps too, but it's that's why people don't care about sex workers, right? Because they're like, oh, those are different kinds of people.
They don't see them as people; they see them as objects.
Yeah, exactly. And so you're like, well, whatever happened to them because they kind of deserved it, is what they say.
That's another thing. I'm like with Gabby's case, and it's a terrible. I mean, a lot of people come at me for this. I don't think Brian did it.
What? No.
What?
Really?
Did he admit to it in his diary? I don't know, though. I haven't followed the case a lot.
Apparently, in the note where they found him, he apparently wrote a confession. But his parents are the ones that found him and found the note when they claimed that police already searched the area and didn't find anything previously.
So who did it?
I think that it might have been his parents.
Oh,
but I don't think that it was him. A lot of the stuff going on, I was like, okay, that doesn't seem like that. Or it's either his parents or that killed actually her is possibly even a serial killer that's out there. Because like I said, I've done all these other cases too that are around Gabby around that time. Some of them are up in that area. And there is 6 people around that area, around that time that no one talks about that have all gone missing, and some have been found and some have not around the same exact time.
We should say it was Bigfoot.
It was Bigfoot.
Yes, Bigfoot. Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask Adriann about one phenomenon that when I'm watching true crime, sometimes false confessions are a thing. Sometimes cops do the same thing. They lock in on a person. And the most intriguing phenomenon that I see is where the cops think someone did it, and then DNA proves that they did. There's something like 100% proves this person didn't do it. But then the family members of the victim, they refuse to let go and they still think the person did it. That blows my mind. And I don't know if that's the thing you witness a lot, but it just, and I don't know if it's like blind trust in the police or what would cause you to, like, in the face of irrefutable evidence, still think that person did it. You know what I mean?
I think for the family, I think a lot of times they're hurt and they're looking for explanation. And then the police have offered them an explanation and they completely bought into it. And so they can't see
anything else.
Yeah, anything else. And it's just because then if you take that away from them, then they're back to like not having any answers. And that's worse.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Like you'd rather believe the lie than the truth.
David Paulides believes what connects these cases, other than them being missing, is time, place, and circumstance. So, for example, people seem to go missing near water, either picking berries or eating them, bad weather, when like the people begin searching for the missing people, and the fact that this seems to like happen in clusters. So more than one in an area. And then there is the famous case of Keith Parkins. So we'll read an excerpt from an article on Top Tens, a link which can be found on our show notes. In 1952, a 2-year-old boy named Keith Parkins went missing from his home in Ritter, Oregon, in the middle of winter. He'd been playing outside with his jacket on, but he was far from equipped to spend the night outside alone. His family and a local search party looked for him immediately. They could only follow his tiny footprints up to a point before they completely stopped. There were no other animal or adult tracks nearby. 19 hours later, they found Keith. He was about 15 miles away, and he had taken his jacket off. This is a 2-year-old, guys, okay? And was laying face down in the snow on a frozen pond. Keith was alive. And when they asked him why he had run away and how he survived, he said he didn't remember. Aw, little toddler.
First of all, yeah, this 2-year-old, he could put sentences together and he could walk really. My 2-year-old, I mean, he could barely walk at 2 years old. And he could like only say like 5 words at a time, I think.
Yeah, so this story is like, is it exaggerated or?
This is definitely a real case of something that happened. I mean, it's
so bizarre.
You know, and the idea that a 2-year-old would be 15 miles away, you know, without footprints or anything.
Yeah, this was a weird case. At first I was like, maybe because it was a while ago, like part of it was like exaggerated. But if you're saying that those little factoids are like legit.
I mean, there's newspaper articles about what happened. These things did. I mean, you know, this is like scariest thing for like, as you know, 3 of us are parents. And so, you know, like having like a little kid and hiking. I mean, I know that when I hiked with my little one, when he was that age, you know, I would never let him out of my sight because I always wanted to have him around me. But this is like the worst nightmare I could imagine, you know, although he was found healthy. So what do we do?
So weird.
Thank God. Yes. Let's examine another famous missing 411 case. This excerpt can also be found in the same Top 10s article. In February 2018, a Canadian man named Danny Philippides, which I think is the guy who ran the first marathon as well, was on a ski trip with his friends in New York. It was around 2 p.m., and they had been skiing for hours. They were getting ready to go into the lodge, and Danny said that he wanted to go on one more run down the mountain before their lunch break. By 4 p.m., Danny was failing to return any calls or texts, and the friends were concerned. They began searching for him, and after being unable to find him, they told the employees at the lodge that he was missing. A team of 130 people scoured the mountain without finding him.
And then 6 days later, his wife received a phone call. She didn't recognize the number and it sounded far away and staticky. It was Danny's voice. He was incoherent and confused and then hung up on the phone. She called the number back and pleaded with him to call 911 for help, so he did. He had no idea where he was, and he just described his surroundings. When the paramedics finally found him, he was still wearing all of his ski gear and in need of medical assistance. He was holding a brand new iPhone, and someone had cut his hair.
Somehow, he ended up in Sacramento, California, at the airport terminal car rental depot. He was 3,000 miles away from where he disappeared. He couldn't remember how he got there, and he had no idea what day it was. When he learned where he was and how long people had been looking for him, he got very overwhelmed and emotional. The leading theory is that he was kidnapped in the back of a big rig truck but no proof of this has ever surfaced.
This is a freaky story, but there's other stories about people going missing and then they just walk. They if you talk, and then they get found later, and then they talk to these people and they say, "Well, where were you?" And they just said, "I was walking the whole time." Like they were just walking and walking and walking and walking, and then they're never found until later. And then a week later, they're found and they're okay. So it's really interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think about that case?
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just well, for one, it's crazy for me that people are actually found, because most of the time mine are still missing. But yeah, and the fact that he had a haircut, okay, did he do that himself? I mean, did someone else do that for him?
Did he eat any berries?
That's the real question.
There are other cases where these people go missing, no one finds them, and 2 years later, they find the body in the place that people were searching. They're all over that place, and they're like, well, why couldn't they have found? They should have found the body if it was truly there,
Oh yeah, there was this bow hunter that just went missing. He was actually hunting with a few of his friends, and they decided, they were going to go their separate ways just to go and hunt deer, but they all had trackers, GPS trackers and everything like that. And then it was weird. They found his GPS tracker and his shoes somewhere. And then clear across where he was supposed to be, they found his bow and a backpack. And then not for 2 years later, then they found his body around the same area.
I don't know if I've ever shared this on this podcast, but I did a 1-month backpacking course where we hiked for a month. And one of the days was in the North Cascades in Washington State. And one of the days we were in a blizzard. And I remember I got out of the tent to go pee. And then I was I was 2 feet from my tent. I just walked out, because I'm a boy. I could stand up and just pee, right? I just didn't want to get the pee on the tent. So I just walked a little bit. And then I turned around. And I had no idea where I was. And I was super not prepared, because obviously I just went to pee. And I started walking, which is obviously the wrong thing you're supposed to do. But I'm an experienced hiker and backpacker. And I started walking and walking and walking. I was like, fuck, I don't have any of my equipment. If I had my equipment, I could survive. I'm fine. I had nothing. I had no jacket. I had no gear. And I was freaking out. And we were on a mountain too. And I remember thinking fuck, I'm going to get screwed, because no one's going to hear me because it's windy. We're on top of the mountain. And then I remember I walked by this log that we had sat on that night. And I was like, oh my God, I'm on the other side of camp. And once I saw that log, I figured out where I was. But I remember thinking even an experienced hiker, this was this was at the end of 3 weeks in, I've been camping a lot off trail. And I remember being wow, I never really understood how people got lost, but that was the first time it was so bad. And I always wonder if maybe I wasn't the missing 411 at that moment. maybe I was in a parallel universe or something.
Yeah, why did you just turn around and you suddenly didn't know where you were? How many steps did you take?
I wasn't that far. Yeah, no.
What the heck?
It was weird. I was totally turned around. I was going the opposite direction. I was on the other side of camp. I was in the opposite direction. I was going actually the opposite direction. I could have walked off a mountain.
I was just going to say, I guess the real question is, were you picking berries?
I was definitely picking berries. Well, actually, that whole trip, this is funny. The whole trip, there was blueberries, wild blueberries and wild berries. And we were eating it the whole time in our bread that we were making. One more thing I'll share about that trip was that during that same blizzard, it was so terrible and so cold. I actually wanted to be abducted by aliens. I remember thinking, man, it would be awesome if I could be abducted by aliens right now, because then I would be warmer than I am currently warm, because it was so cold. It was so cold and miserable.
So what are some of the theories of what's going on here, right? So David Paulides does not share his own theories about what happened, but that doesn't keep others from sharing what they think is happening. So here are some of the other theories. Bigfoot.
Of course.
Aliens.
Obviously.
Interdimensional wormholes. A clan of cannibals living in the wilderness.
The probably best one.
And mountain lions or bears.
So what do we think is really happening out there in the North American national parks?
Yeah, those are the facts. So when we return, we're going to put our minds together. We're going to figure out what really maybe happened here. Now that we've discussed the facts, let's give our theories.
My theory is that I'm going for the interdimensional wormholes, because I think.
Oh, you are.
Because I think that that's the most interesting one to me. That there's this place that they go that's kind of looks like our world, and this is not as fun. Sorry. as normal that I normally come up with for this podcast, but this is what I actually believe is happening. They're wormholes, and they kind of like, they look like us, but it's kind of like a loop that you just they keep walking and walking and walking, and they kind of get stuck in it, and then they don't know what to do, and they just keep kind of walking. So there's all these places in the national parks where kind of these energies are happening,
like a second dimension.
Yeah, like a different dimension, and that's kind of, maybe that's where Bigfoot comes from. I don't know, but it's definitely where all these people are finding. And I think that the key for people who are stuck in these wormholes is that they need to find their way out of it.
Here's what I think is happening, and this is a bit of a cop out, but I think that basically there is a Bigfoot, right? And Bigfoot does, occasionally have to mess somebody up. It's not his jam, no. And I think also there are aliens, and I also think there's serial killers.
Okay.
So I think basically the national park, it's this Venn diagram of like everything you need, right? Because there are less satellite towers, there are less cell phone towers. So if you want to do something bad, you do it at a national park.
I was going to say, not only that, though, that there is actually at the Yellowstone National Park, there is a spot that you can essentially get away with murder because it is it's in the 4 different states, and like no one really has jurisdiction over it.
Right. So you got that. And before it was legal, people would grow weed in national parks because no one knew where the weed was. And you could, if you left some breadcrumbs, you could go back, grow the weed, come back, get the weed, sell it.
Wow.
In between, you're like, hey, it's just growing in a national park. I didn't, you know what I mean? And I think Bigfoot is like actually hurt. The old commercial with the Native American and people are dumping trash and there's one tear goes down his eye. I think that's Bigfoot now, right? Bigfoot is crying because he's getting blamed for all this stuff. And it's a combination of aliens, serial killers, things of that nature. And it's like, that's why we probably should be super careful going to national parks, because it's like, even though it's beautiful, it's just the same as walking through the hood with a bunch of money and a bunch of gold chains. You know what I mean? It's the same thing.
I just can't believe you put that analogy together.
Okay. Wait. So you're saying people blame Bigfoot, but it's not Bigfoot. It's really a combination of aliens and serial killers.
Bigfoot is like a bear. Like if he kills you, it's not on purpose. He might... He'll only kill you if you're trying to kill him, but
he's just defending himself.
Exactly. Exactly, Adriann, right? Like if you wanted to do something and get away with it, national park, and even aliens, because they know if they want to study us, if they want to probe us, it's like, you know what? We'll get a straggler in a national park, just like a lion, right? A lion gets the one gazelle that's kind of hanging out by himself, So everyone in the national park, and Koji, they almost got you, right? The aliens almost got you because
they almost got me.
They did that to your senses. They zigzagged you, and luckily you know what I mean. Another 3 steps, we're not even here right now. We're here.
Yeah,
but you've been probed. Yes,
just another Asian guy right here. Right. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly.
Was your prayer for the aliens to abduct you before that incident on your backpacking trip?
That's a good question, actually. It probably was before, actually. So maybe they were trying to abduct me. I just didn't know it. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Okay, so my theory is that not everything can be explained by science. So I was raised like my dad's an agnostic, skeptic, brainiac. So I was raised like it's all about science and science explains everything. And there's no such thing as like prayer and, the God and things like that. So, but I believe that there's an aspect where we don't know how to explain it. And I think the most closest thing it would be considered is the interdimensional wormhole thing that Koji was theorizing. So I just feel like it's vague, but there's like another dimension or there's something else here, matrix, whatever we want to call it, that we don't quite know. And it's because it's like outside of like science and logic and numbers and math. And so it's probably closer to the quantum physics realm and something in that arena of things. But that's what I just think is that there's something that can happen in moments that we just don't know how to explain. Like the 2 stories, the Keith Parkins child, and then the Danny Philippidis, the ski trip guy that got the haircut, like these lapses in time. And it's not so much like a straight explanation that it's Bigfoot or aliens or, a serial killer or like a psychotic break and they're just not remembering things right. I think it's just that there's something else we have yet to tap into.
I like that. To quote the Beastie Boys, another dimension, another dimension, another dimension. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
Adriann, what's your theory?
I don't know if I believe this one for sure, but it's something that I was thinking that was interesting because I've heard of stuff like this. What about the portal to hell?
Oh.
And then some people find their way back.
Oh, my Lord.
Ew. To hell?
To hell, yes. So some people believe that there are
Oh,
portals
God.
to hells in certain aspects, especially like in water. So like if you just have a pond or something, sometimes there are actually portals to hell, or it will be like a cave or there's a whole tree because it has a big old hole in it that some people think that that's a portal to hell, that if you go in there, people just don't come out. And that some people claim that they go there and then they come back out and claim that they have been in the portal of hell. Some people claim that they don't remember and that bits and pieces are missing from their memory. But some people actually do think that a lot of places in national parks have portals to hell. I personally, I'm like, I don't know if I believe that one, but it's an interesting one.
Maybe the boundaries of these national park lines are partly, yes, created because they know about these portals to hell, huh? It's not just that they're beautiful, rare.
Ooh, it's a very, very Stranger
Yeah,
Things kind of
yeah.
thing. Yeah. And what I like about that theory too is that if Satan wanted you to sort of like put your guard down, say like these holes in trees, for instance, right? And they're like, they can be portals. So what does Satan do? He produces the Keebler elf to make everyone like trees. You know what I mean? You think you're gonna get cookies if you're near a tree, but you're gonna get abducted is what's really gonna happen.
Well, also a lot of the stories, if you talk to like from the children and stuff who got missing, they'll say things like, I followed a bear or I followed an animal and they went in and then they get lost and then something happens. Because, like the thing about these cases that's interesting is that they're never like, some dude who's never been off his couch goes to the national park and missing. It's usually like an experienced hiker,
Yeah.
or it's a hunter. I mean, sometimes they're children too, but a lot of times there are these experienced people, like Adriann, your story about the hunters. Like these are people that are comfortable being in the wilderness. They're not people that are uncomfortable in the wilderness. And so, maybe it is something path to hell. But like, is the hell, just to be clear, is the hell like a bad place, or is it like a super fun place that you would have like a lot of fun in, as opposed to heaven, which could be like kind of boring?
I don't know. You know what? You're absolutely right. I mean, my heaven's going to be something that's totally different than my mom's. I mean, I grew up with an LDS family, so my heaven's totally different than hers. Maybe my heaven is her hell. So there we go, which I'll be okay with. I will be okay with. But actually, I think there's a portal to hell. I think there's one in California.
I think it's the Starbucks on La Brea. La Brea and Sunset. Have you been in that Starbucks?
Yeah, that's a terrible.
It gets crazy.
That's a terrible.
Yeah, I've seen a guy walk in and throw a iced coffee. Just throw it. Just fling it across for no reason.
Wait, where's this hell in California?
Part of the hell in California. California Lake. Oh, yeah. Holy shit, that does look like... that is weird. Can I share a link with you guys in here?
Oh, no. Is that real?
Yep.
It's in Napa County. It's a glory hole. That's funny. It's a glory hole.
But it's one of these things where, especially when we started to make cities and clear the land, there may be some areas that are just so pretty or so serene that either like Earth, God, Satan, whoever it was like, you know what, you guys stay out of this. And so when people go, especially you said it's experienced people, it's because people, it's like, you know what, I let you visit once or twice. Now you're taking advantage.
We're at the point in the show where we need to pick the unofficial official story, one that will once and for all answer this question. What do you guys think? Which theory do we want to go with?
I'm going to vote for the hell one because I think that surprised me. I didn't think about the portal to hell.
And you know what? I kind of, the portal to hell one scares me, but I got to vote for that one too, because maybe people will stop asking me to go hiking.
Are you kidding? I don't go hiking because people go missing when you go hiking. I'm staying alive by not going hiking. You know how many missing people go hiking?
Well, 1,600 people go missing in the national
park.
So.
Hiking is just walking. Like no one goes missing walking on Colorado Boulevard past the Gap. You know what I mean? So we can walk anywhere. Why do we have to drive where no one is to walk? And I get it. You're going to say waterfall. I get it. But they have waterfalls at Six Flags as well.
Waterfalls at Six Flags.
Oh my God, Dwayne, that's too funny. That's funny.
All right, Jennifer, which one do you think?
I like the multidisciplinary approach that Dwayne had, which is that it's a couple different factors, because that makes sense. Because it's not just that there's just, to me, I'm just thinking logically, it's not just one explanation for the 1,600 people that are missing on federal lands. It's a combo of things. Could be a little serial killer here and there. As Adriann said, what we encounter cross paths with nine in our lifetime. So lots of crazy people out there. Potentially aliens, maybe Bigfoot. We know that there is a Bigfoot. We don't know if he's responsible, but he's around. So I just think it's like a lot of, I think that's what it is. And there's not just one explanation.
Adriann, do you want to go with your theory, or do you want to go with one?
No, I like the dimension one too.
Oh no!
Wait, Koji's?
Well, one of ours,
or Jennifer's, which is similar, right?
Yeah.
No, but I like the interdimension, and especially with a lot of these people actually coming back. The ones that you guys were talking about, the fact that they're actually coming back and not just missing. And the fact that, they don't know exactly what happened. They can't really. I mean, that could be like a gap in time, something with our minds in that other portal or whatever. Yeah, I like the other dimension. That's what it is. Yeah.
It's almost like the hell thing. We're just sort of like naming the dimension in a sense, right? And the hell one still wins because
that's right. We have two.
It's 2 and 1.
Yeah.
So, but also you think about Bermuda Triangle. There's a lot of places. Anyway,
wait, have we ever talked about there's an Asian Bermuda Triangle, which is. It's on the exact opposite side of the planet from the Bermuda Triangle.
No.
Is it the library?
Yeah.
I'm just
No, but yeah, it's like a real thing, allegedly. We'll probably like talk about it at some point in the future when we run out of ideas. And we're like, what's a terrible idea? The Asian Bermuda Triangle.
So our guest's theory, Adriann Barrett's theory, won. So there is a portal to hell in every national park and in these places, and that's what's happening to these people. And sometimes they go in and never come out. Sometimes they do come back out, right?
Yeah.
That's the idea here. So anyway, that's the official story. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we'll give our best advice on how to survive being lost in the woods. Missing 411 is all about being lost in the national parks. I'm not sure if any of you have ever been lost. Koji mentioned a little story earlier, but what's your best advice on how to not get lost? Or what would you do if you found yourself lost in the woods?
Because now that we've figured out the truth about being lost and going to hell, I think I would love to get lost, go to hell, come back. I mean, I talk about gangster rap credibility, like to say like you went to hell and came back. That's better than being shot.
That is some good street cred.
Well, yeah, but who's going to really believe you?
Well, I'll take video of it, obviously. I'll be like, I've gone to hell. You've been shot 8 times. I've been to hell. I came out and I came back. That's how gangster I am. No, but in terms of real advice, like in terms of like not getting lost, I mean, the best and the most tried thing to do is always trying to stay where you are, because the more you walk around, the worse it gets. However, also with that being said, I did not follow my own advice. I always feel like you start getting in trouble when you think you can find your own way out. And I know a lot of people always have these things. You always hear about in stories like, my dad told me always go downhill. Well, or follow the river, or do this or do that. And that's not actually usually the right thing to do, because just because you're going downhill doesn't mean you're going to a place you could get out of, right? Because what ends up happening a lot of times is that you keep going downhill and you start climbing down and you don't realize it's easier to climb down than climb up. And so you start getting to places that you can't get out of. And once you can't get out of it, you're stuck forever.
Damn.
And so it's best to stay where you are and wait for somebody, because eventually someone hopefully will find you. Or and also just never go off. Like if you can't read a topographic map, you shouldn't go off trail anyway. One more advice. Sorry, this is the last piece of advice. One thing that people don't do on trails enough is you should turn around and look what it looks like on the way back. People get lost because when they're walking one way, they're only looking this way and they only see the world from this way, but they don't see it going that way. So when they start going head home, they don't think it's the right way because it doesn't look the same. And so what you're supposed to do is every once in a while you turn around, look at what it looks like going the other way.
That's great advice.
And then you get a sense of it.
That's terrific. I love that. I got to start doing that.
You can do that in a city too.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't see that gap was there.
Dwayne, what's your advice?
Well, two things. One, you can do that in the city too. Not that I don't condone creepiness, but if a pretty woman passes you by and you happen to turn around as she passed you by, you could always be like, I'm trying not to get lost, okay? You know what I mean? I'm not looking at your butt. I'm trying not to get lost over here. But in all seriousness, if we're saying we believe in the hell portal thing, I think one thing is whatever your God is, make sure you have something there, some kind of trinket, you know what I mean? If it's a cross, if it's a Buddha, whatever, it's like a vampire. Who's he gonna bite? The guy with a little bit of garlic in his pocket or the guy with no garlic? You know what I mean? So just have a little bit, just a little extra. So that way, if it's a choice between you and another hiker, it's like, I don't want to deal with this guy. He's got a cross. He's all prayed up. Gonna go get this other guy, right?
I don't know. Maybe he, because he's got a big old feud with God, so maybe he's going to attack.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, that is a good point. That is a really good point. Yeah. Well, my second thing would cover that, and that is always be with someone else. Like when people split up in horror movies, I'm like, nope. It's like, okay, let's split up. Nope, that's what we're not going to do. We're not going to split up. So, yeah, I think don't split up. And thirdly, wherever you go, cities or wherever, sometimes on the way back, not only do you not recognize it, but you start thinking you really understand where you're going. So you're like, well, I think we can go that way. Just go the exact way you came. Just reverse it. No shortcuts. Go the exact way you went. That's that.
Jennifer, what's your advice, or what would you do if you were lost?
My gut instinct when I think of this question is, just the tribe thing. You just never want to be alone. But then I know when I'm out on a trail or when you're with friends and you're in, outdoors where there's no reception and, there's no like facilities and things like that, you're not like stuck at the hip the whole time. So it's like, you might want to go take a picture on that little ledge, or you might want to run up ahead on the trail a little more. So I know it's my advice is just never do anything alone. I would never go on a hike by myself. That's what I mean. So personally, so I would always go with someone, but then there's those moments. So, that's my advice, just to always have a buddy system. But even still, that's not fail proof.
Although I will say, if you do hike by yourself, you just have to create a plan and stay to the plan. The biggest mistake people make is that they'll tell, I'll be like, Dwayne, I'm going to go on this one trail. And then you get there, you're like, fuck this trail, I'm going to go somewhere else. And then 50 feet from the trail that you were at, and no one's going to find you because
you didn't tell anyone.
Well, you're not where you said you were. So they're going to spend all the time looking exactly where you said you were. And now when you're 50 feet over, they're not going to find you basically ever.
Dude.
Adriann, what's your advice?
Be pre-prepared. So I actually have, because I'm a little crazy, I have a DNA kit that's actually in my freezer in case I go missing. I have it in case I go missing folder that has all my passwords to everything, giving people permission to go through my phone, like the police and everything, because they have to get a warrant for that. My second thing is I always make my husband, I made him buy one of those GPS trackers. And so every time he can text me from it. And then when he doesn't have service though, every 15 minutes, it sends me a pin of his location. So when he's going hunting, I make him take that with him. And then it sends me a ping every 15 minutes. So I know where he's at in case of an emergency.
A portal of hell.
Yeah, exactly. That way I can track the portal to hell.
Does he wear it all the time?
All the time, 24/7.
You can find him in the upside down world.
Yes, I can find him in the upside down.
And we're forgetting one thing, which also the advice that we should have gave, but it should be apparent. don't eat berries. Spring for some grapes.
Thank you, Adriann, for coming on with us. Please tell us where people can follow you, where we can listen to your podcast.
Yeah. So with our podcast, you can get it anywhere that you can get your podcast. It's Crime Theories. And we are also I got TikTok and Instagram, Facebook, and I just recently started re-uploading the stuff on YouTube. So you guys can all check us out there.
And thank you all so much for listening. There are more than 2 million podcasts out there. So we're so honored you've chosen ours to listen to. Thank you for tuning in, for letting people know to review and rate. And check out our website, unofficialofficialstory.com, for our show notes and also to hear past episodes. Be sure to come back next month because we're going to find out the answer to the question, is President Biden a robot?
Yes, this is this is the episode I've been waiting for this whole time.
Is he a robot? Oh God.
People shit on him so much.
And I mean, he's got to be a robot, and Avril Lavigne is a clone. So.
Right.
People are crazy. Oh my gosh.
All right, guys. Thank you everybody. Bye.
Yeah.